I totally lost my train of thought. I had another question for you.
Oh, sorry, but you were talking about like dancing with all the different cultures and stuff.
Well, immersing and really seeing it through a different lens. And I know I appreciate you greatly for setting it up strategically that way. And you have other dreams too, right? Like I understand France is your passion, but there's a little bit more exploring that you're thinking about doing down the road, right?
Oh, I want to do it all, but I love what you said. I mean, I've got a huge affinity and a lot of knowledge, like in Germany and Canada, but what my big picture, I guess, is, or like the legacy that I want to leave, or whatever, it really touches on what you were saying on like all the cultures. Like you guys couldn't talk, and yet you had so much fun together, and it's like one of your most memorable nights because the basis is that we are all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter what color you are, religion you are, country, any of that. We are all the same. And I think that with travel, not only does it like really you discover yourself, you get out of your comfort zone, like you come here, you go, oh wow, I can actually eat like a tongue or whatever other thing, that you would never do. And you can actually like compare it. You learn about yourself, like, oh, I do like this, or, you appreciate your own culture more, but you get to meet others and get an understanding for them. And so any fixed ideas that you have, whether it's through, your education or your family or the news or whatever, it just shatters it all. And I discovered this, and I'm so embarrassed to say this, but when we were in Germany, I actually found myself becoming prejudiced.
Really?
Because there was this, remember, I think it was like 2015, there was the whole refugee crisis. And so there was all these refugees coming, and this is probably not politically correct for me to say.
I'm happy that you're being honest and that you're comfortable, and it's okay. This is the real stuff. I mean, it's a show that a gambling addict is hosting. So
there you go.
Freedom of speech, baby.
So all these refugees were coming in, and I mean, somebody had to take them. And like, I really felt bad for them. And I was like, oh my God, why aren't the other countries bringing them in? But then my clients were all business executives or business owners, and they paid very, very high taxes. And there's some laws in Germany that are very, very old. For instance, one of my friends, she actually divorced her husband. They still live together, but legally they were divorced because on their property, they built a new house and they wanted to give their old house to their son. But because her father was in a retirement home and they couldn't afford to pay it all, they couldn't give anything to their son. So they legally divorced. So one house was his, one was hers. You see what I mean? And so there's like these really weird laws and hoops that you have to stay within the law. And so all these people are like, oh yeah, we have this, but the refugees are coming in, they get a smartphone, they get medical thing where we have to pay we were paying like over $1,000 a month for medical insurance, right? So you're always hearing these things. And after a while, I was like, oh my God, this isn't fair. And I started getting into this too. And then I found myself like kind of looking at them, like, you don't fucking belong here. And I was like, oh my God, like this isn't me. And then I ended up talking to a few of them. And one of the ones that I talked to was a doctor who didn't want to be there. Like if he could, he would have gone back home in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. His wife, his children were there. He walked like 3 months to get there. And then when you're talking to them, you're like, holy shit, like there's a reason. And, like it was all kinds of things like at the schools. So now the parents were coming home with like notices saying, it would be appreciated if your daughters could cover their arms and wear like longer skirts or longer shorts, and I was like, well, no, they're coming to Germany. They can dress like a European. But at the same time, when you take yourself out of your reality and try to understand this other culture, can you imagine being a teenage boy that has never seen skin? And now he is sitting in a high school class with like the boobs up to here and the skirts down to there. And
yeah,
there's a quote by Mark Twain that travel can eradicate prejudices. I totally believe it. And that's my big. It's to get everybody out, whether it's in person or just, traveling online with me, discover all of these cultures and why they do things, how they do them, and like really get empathy and understand it.
Wow, that's really well, this hits home on so many levels. And I've had this conversation, right? I'm running an international company.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole staff is in the Philippines, right? And then my clients are all over the world.
Yeah.
And I grew up in that prejudiced environment. And I think that actually my generation is probably the last of it as far as like homegrown prejudice on the level that it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the minority in my town. Or in my high school, and I was treated as such. Like they used to smack us with their hats, the basketball team, like I felt it. I understood it. So of course I reciprocated it in my mind, and I didn't know any better because that was what I was taught. And again, it's nobody's fault, right? It just perpetuates. And just recently I was having a conversation with my partner, and it was like, yeah, I would be missing out on so many things. And like, it started turning for me probably 25, 30 years old when I was in college as an adult, and the class was so diverse, and listening to their experiences. And you hit it on the head. Once we actually listen to the other person's perspective, we have no freaking idea what other people went through. Not anything, whether it's a situation as strong as yours with the refugees, or my situation just learning as we go, or your coworker. We don't know. We are humans. I love that you pointed that out. We're all the same, and we should all be operating from the heart. And I was walking back this morning because I had a couple conversations about this topic, and I was just counting my blessings about the people that I have in my life that I would never know if I kept my prejudices up.
Oh.
Like one of my really good friends, he's from Iraq. I didn't even know that Persian meant Iranian, or that Persian food, things like this. But I'm very intrigued by food and culture and all that stuff. But if I kept the blinders on, I would be living in such a shallow world. And I'm very grateful that I get to have that experience, and that you said shattered. I love shattered prejudice. Like that should be a thing. That was so thank you. Thank you for being so candid about that, because it's important. And I think in our community as online learners, as business people, we see the value in it. Like just from a business proposition, right? Like what if I said I was only going to have VAs for white people, or I was only going to have white VAs, or whatever. And I'm being really extremely obnoxious right now. Like what good would that do? Right. So even if it was started on a business principle, but then we evolved into, I can't believe I'm going on this whole tangent. I'm sorry. But I'm really pretty passionate about it now because I'm seeing things in such a new light, and I'm just so grateful for that. So